conference will now be recorded.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this regular meeting of the Vader City Council. It is November 20th, 2024, and the time is 6:03 p.m. Roll call. Here.
Sheila Goff.
Here.
Jason Daly.
Here.
Randy Hall.
Randy is still ill. He's asked to be excused.
Mike Parsons.
Here.
Michael Ferguson.
Present.
Excellent. The quorum, pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen. Mayor's report. The Park Board, their third annual holiday bazaar is scheduled for the first Saturday in December, the 7th. It is from 4 to 7 o'clock. They're going to be doing the jail tree lighting again at 6 o'clock that evening. Santa will be there again. Vendors are wanted for the bazaar. So if you have any vendors or you'd like to be a vendor, come in and talk to City Hall about how to get coordinated with that. Definitely invite all your friends and family to the tree lighting. It's a lot of fun. Number two, last meeting, Ms. Goff brought up the fact that she thought that maybe the city code might be incorrect regarding some of our cannabis ordinances from 2015. And you were correct. The state, when we passed our ordinances in 2015, we based them on the current state regulations. In 2016, the state changed some laws regarding the ability to cultivate a handful of plants if you have a medical marijuana card or license or whatever it is. And so our code was not compliant because our code said no one could cultivate regardless. And so that'll be a straightforward fix. And so we'll have that presented to you at some point here in the near future. And then also, lastly, this is actually related to the Park Board Holiday Bazaar. Tickets are available tonight and then at City Hall for the raffle for this lovely Vader swag gift box over here with shirts and hats. And so get your tickets. Any council reports? No. All right, agenda approval. We do have the amendment to the dollar amount for the vouchers. There was a mistake in November that needs to get corrected. So other than that, there's no changes.
Everyone looking at 47,575,69.
So we both.
Motion that we approve the agenda with the amendment. The current amendment for November 20th, 2024.
Okay. We have a motion to approve the agenda with the voucher amendment addition. Do you have a second?
Second.
Seconded, Mr. Parsons. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Minutes approval.
Was that November 6th? Yeah.
I hope so because I wrote it.
That was the week before last.
Time flies.
I make a motion that we approve the meeting minutes for November 6, 2024.
A motion by Mr. Parsons to approve the minutes from November 6th. Do we have a second?
A second.
Second by Mr. Ferguson. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Voucher approval.
Make a motion that we approve the end of November 2024 at $17,560.74 and the amended 1st of November 2024, $47,575.69.
The motion by Mr. Parsons to approve the vouchers as stated. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Ferguson. Discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Special reports, Ken Giles on 4th of July.
Thank you. Ken Joslin, I'm on the park board. I recognize that. Okay. My team and I, Marlena has made the 4th of July flyer and these 2 flyers. And I wanted to talk to City Council about approving these because we want to start passing these things out and advertising for our upcoming 4th of July. The first one is the 4th of July one, this advertising about what we're going to have as far as the date and the times and stuff. And then the other ones, we're advertising for fireworks or vendors and music and that type of stuff. We're working on vendors. Sherry has a lot of contacts with vendors. She's told me we have not gotten together because our work schedules have all been going crazy and stuff, and remember the holidays, I'm probably not seeing that we're probably gonna get to see each other and meet together and stuff, but first of the year, hopefully we'll be able to work on some of that and start making some phone calls for some vendors and stuff. So just wanted to see if you guys could approve this so we could start handing this out.
Where's the music performance going to take place?
They're at school. That's just an idea.
So it sounds like it's still like workable. So, you can do this, but I don't know if you're going to put out this flyer if it doesn't have accurate information.
Well, yes.
This far in
Correct. At least the first one as far as the date and the hours and stuff.
Oh, gotcha. This one here.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Fireworks at 10.
10?
10?
Okay.
We always do them at 10 o'clock because
Okay.
that's right when it's
All right.
July, it's dark at 10.
All right. I will make that note and tell her to change that. I think.
Save a lot of money if you did them at 9.
True.
Just a couple booms and they'd be, wow.
Noise only.
So, thanks for catching that, or
Joe.
Mayor.
And Mr. Claycamp, the gentleman that did our show last year, he
Yeah.
actually reached out to me today
Cool.
on his own to make sure that he was still
Great.
good to go for next year. And
Yeah,
I assured him he was, and so.
People are already starting, I've already made some contacts to some vendors right after the 4th of July this year, and some of them were already booked out for next year. So I think that's why I've been trying to get going and stuff like that.
Getting
And with
it.
this year being, 4th of July being on Friday this year, I think if I remember right, I think the next 2 or 3 years, we're just gonna have a bigger draw. That's what I'm saying. Sherry, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, I talked to Darren Hutton, and we spoke about, as there's gonna be power put in,
Excuse me.
I'm Sherry McKernan.
Oh, I'm sorry, she's Sherry, there's no problems. Sherry and myself and Marlene owns or does
I know, yeah, Marlene, yeah.
we're all working as a group
Okay, great.
and so, but this is the first time that we've ever seen each other, so.
Okay,
We
great.
live over houses from each other, but
Yeah.
hey.
Well, thank you for volunteering.
We bought the blue house on 7th, on the main drag,
Gotcha.
on B,
Yes, he is.
Welcome to
Yeah, but I talked to Darren, and he had said something to that power is gonna go in down by the youth fish on 7th. So maybe even trying to get some draw even into downtown. Whether, can't have a beer garden on the school property, but could down there. And maybe get some fundraising for not just fireworks, other things in town. Kind of get people coming to town. So, but Ken and I haven't had a chance to sit down and like, but I know, I mean, I'm a mobile massage therapist in Cowlitz County with tons and done tons of vendor bazaars. So, it would be great to have, different food vendors, different, arts and crafts vendors, and I've talked to a lot of people who are like, we're not doing anything for it, we'll come sell our stuff. So.
I had talked to Marlene about maybe everyone getting together and having a sit-down meeting at some point here.
Yes.
So, I'd love to come to anything that you guys put together for that.
I think it sounds like she's starting to get really busy right now, so I think it's gonna be probably the first year before we're gonna.
It's fine.
To be able to get, scheduled and stuff, but I will keep that in mind, or she'll keep that in mind and stuff, so,
And I'm free every weekend. So.
okay.
If we had the beer garden down there, we could get corral fencing and herd everybody so they don't fall, they just bounce in between.
Well, my wheels are turning, I'm like, why can't we block off the street there in front of the school, but we need that for parking.
I think we should just put the beer garden at Ken's house.
No,
It's great.
Ken's already gonna be drinking enough beer as it is.
It's right across the highway there.
We just have to have somebody.
All right, thanks so much.
Yeah.
Service or something. Yeah.
I think they got your approval that you needed, and
Yeah, I mean, I'll make those changes with the time to 10 o'clock, and then, we'll just start working more on trying to get together
Yeah.
and go from there.
Well, and as long as that's approved, I can start posting again.
Can we have our approval, or do we need approval from this if we make that change?
On this,
Yeah.
I think yes.
y'all like it?
Yeah.
All right, there you go.
Yeah,
All right,
let's get the word out there that we're doing it.
perfect, because I think that'll help if we can start advertising this stuff,
Yeah.
so.
All right, thanks.
That's all I got.
Information to come.
Oh, lucky. All right. Lucky. We're gonna sit here and pay bills. Okay.
That's what I'm forgetting. All right. Now that we got that rowdy party crowd out of here, let's move on to public hearings.
Okay.
Ready.
That's it.
He says been schooling me on public hearings. We're going to open this public hearing for revenue, property tax, and levy rates for the 2025 budget. The time is 6:15 PM. This is an opportunity for the public to comment on the budget and the levy propositions. Also a time for the council to discuss the same topics with, that was one of the things I was doing incorrectly, was that I was closing the public hearing without having council discuss, even though we were discussing it later, so.
Is that really how it's supposed to go? I didn't know that.
We have done that before, Lisa, and Lisa called us one time. We did not
It's kind of more like
follow that procedure.
Yeah.
a workshop where we can all kind
It's
of,
important that this verbiage isn't laid out straight.
Yeah, every time I've ever done it, it's been the public hearing.
Hearing is to present your information and talk about your information, because if you don't discuss it, then the
Yeah.
public, what are they gonna comment on? Besides what
Right.
they possibly see online. So with you guys discussing it, then you open it up to the public comment.
Huh?
If you don't have any public comment, then you close the
It
public.
makes sense. I'm
Yeah.
just saying,
So, because you guys doing it later.
I thought we were special because the public just always talks
No,
whenever they want anyway.
the public hearing is
But we
supposed to
have them now.
involve all aspects of what you guys should be discussing. You should be discussing the levies and the revenue and the taxes in the public hearing.
So this is where I talk about
Perfect. So
idea.
we can talk about
so
it.
now the public hearing is discussion time.
It is, yeah, I think of it kind of almost as a workshop kind of thing where the public can give input and the council can interact, and then towards the end, then we'll close it to public comment, and then the council can have their final say before we close the hearing altogether, right? Okay.
I mentioned at the last meeting about changing our marijuana ordinance so that we got the free money. And is anybody interested in getting the free money from
I'm not interested in smelling marijuana.
Nobody's saying you had to do that.
Well, if you start manufacturing marijuana here,
Nobody's saying that has to happen. We just have to change. And Toledo doesn't have it, PL doesn't have it, but every year they get income from it because they have a green dot. We have a red dot. We need to change our red dot to a green dot.
yeah, but if we get the green dot, then that's one step closer to a manufacturing.
And that's your opinion, not the opinion of the town.
Well, actually, it was already voted on.
Well, and the times have changed. That was a long time ago.
Then let's change it to Little Falls too.
Well,
So in 2015, I was on the city council at the time, and the city council did debate whether or not, marijuana was right for the town. And it wasn't an all out, just no. There was a discussion about it. And one of the main drivers for saying the marijuana wasn't right for Vader was because the owner of the industrial area downtown, he was waiting for us to allow it because he absolutely was going to put a grow operation in down there. And I did a lot of research on it. Colorado had already legalized it. And one of the issues with the grow operations is the smell. And that's still an issue. If you drive through the industrial area on Fiber Way, in Longview, you can smell it. If you're up in, if you're
and
in
I'm not
Chehalis,
saying that that has to
hold
happen.
on, I'll give a little bit of history here. And so, and it's very, very strong. I mean, you can smell it for blocks. And so I actually asked before I made my decision, I asked the owner of the property, all right, there are things you can do to mitigate these smells. You can seal the building up, you can put in active carbon filtration, you can do these things so that it doesn't smell. And he said, I am not going to do those things. It's too expensive. And eventually I actually want to grow outside. I'll have a fence up so you can't see it, but I'll be growing outside as well. And so he outwardly admitted that he was going to put in an operation that was going to have an undesirable smell for a lot of people. And everyone knows that here in town, when it's foggy, it sticks here in the valley. When anyone burns, it sticks here in the valley. So if there was a large grow operation, that smell would certainly hang out here in the valley. And a good portion of the city would smell because of it. And so that was when I voted against it, that was my decision. It wasn't because I was anti-marijuana. It's not right for the city.
But doesn't the council have a say in how they put it in, I'm not asking for pot stores all over.
Yeah, so that's
right.
right. So now you're saying, all right, so could we draft a legislation where we don't allow this type of operation, but we do allow, say, a retail store? Maybe we could draft something like that, but does that satisfy the state? Because now we're limiting what can happen. So are we then still limiting our ability to get the $1,000 a year in taxes that we're missing out on? Because that's how much we're missing out on.
That goes up every year that goes up. In 2014, they sold $248 million worth of marijuana, and 2 years later, they sold $1.1 billion worth of marijuana. So it goes up. It's free money. You don't have to have a pot store here in town. It's free money. It's free money versus.
You can do it through regulations to stop the smell. Don't do an outdoor grow. Have him grow indoors.
Sounds good.
There's ways around it.
Yeah, so it's possible that you could write the legislation in a way that would prevent these things that we're worried about that are bad for the city, that we know would be bad for the city. It's possible. We don't know. We haven't looked into it other than this discussion. We haven't looked into it.
Well, like I said, Toledo and PL both have an okay. No one's running to put 25 pot stores in their town, and they've had it all. They've been getting it all these years. We've been passing this money up every year. Every year it goes up.
Yeah, it was $700 a couple of years ago, and now it's up to $1,000 a year.
And we don't really
for
know
a comparable city. So yeah, we are missing out on about $1,000 a year right now of revenue because.
And when did we vote for this?
In 2015 was when we passed this legislation. So that was, I think 2016 might have been the first year. Cities got
11, 19,
got
2016
distributions,
is when you
something like
had
that.
the meeting.
So, anyway, so that is one possible avenue the city could go down, where we could look at drafting different legislation and trying to get that $1,000. That's true. Okay. That was, I just wanted to give the background for folks on why it ended up getting, why it was thought to be not the right fit for the city, because of the active interest in putting a large industrial grow here in town. So.
Question on that, Joe.
Yeah.
The sheriff said here, what's the crime around a grow operation?
You mean around the grow operation?
Yeah.
Depends on how it's made. You know, it's like if it's, every circumstance is different. You know, if you have a building that's secure on all sides, it's going to be a lot more secure than an outside grill with just chain link fence around it. So it really depends on how it's made, what's the structure, that kind of thing. You know, anytime you bring, whether it's a retail shop or anything like that, it also brings the people that are buying it, where they're using it, are they using it in the street, are they using it in the car, are they driving, are they using it in the parking lot? You know, it depends on the dynamic of how that's being sold, that you guys would consider too.
And the state does have some pretty strict rules regarding security at those sites. So any of the business owners need to meet certain criteria. They can't just have, you know.
But if there's crime around it, and like you're saying, people using it when they come out of the store or something, and they're smoking, and then all of a sudden they start driving, and it starts costing us more money because we're hiring these guys to take care of our problem child. You know,
yeah.
That $1,000 may not balance out.
Yeah.
It's going to go up every year. It goes up every year. It's free money. You don't have to have a pot store next to you. It's free money. You just have to change the wording of your ordinance.
Yeah. One of the things with Word and Playground being built up as it is now, I remember there were certain rules in the state legislation regarding how far these establishments can be from parks and schools and things like that. So it's possible with the additions to Word and Park now that there may not even be anything in our
city,
in our commercial use area where you could put something like that. And so we have to look at it. This is a much larger discussion, but you're right, that is could be $1,000 a year that we could get from that. So public hearing.
A question about the US Cellular lease.
Yes.
Line. So we had received $8,066 in 2023. We estimated we received the same. Looks like we're going to be on par for that. How are we estimating that we're going to come up like an extra $1,800?
So in our contract with them, every
there is a
handful of years, yeah, there's an adjustment for what is it, the CPI?
I remember we just renewed that lease with them, right? It was a 10-year lease.
So this is still the original lease. They came to us. They wanted to renegotiate the lease for a longer term. This was last year, I think,
yes.
And they didn't want to put in clauses for inflation like this in the new one. They wanted to be kind of a flat rate or much, and so when we were pushing them to get the more usual type of contract that cities get, they were like, we'll just wait a while then instead of talking to you right now. So they were trying to get a sweetheart deal from the city, and our law firm that we use represents other cities that have cell phone towers, and they said, no, that's not the type of deal you should get from them. This is the type of deal you should get from them. This is the market, what the market requires, and so this is still the old contract. But yeah, we are going to see an increase this next year because of the current contract that we have.
Okay, on this page here, I don't know what we're calling this, it doesn't have like a title or number.
It's an overview, I guess.
Overview. So it shows the parks kind of in the red by $4,824 estimated. How are they gonna start the year in the red?
Is this, which one? Is this the,
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
Okay.
We agree.
That's right. My living room does it all the time.
You want to see mine?
We're estimating that they're gonna be in the red right off the bat.
Okay, so yeah, so these balances right here, these are actually the current balances at the end of October. And so what we're doing is we're saying, if nothing changed between now and the end of the year, that's what our balances would be. And so the park fund is a little funny because it doesn't have a source of revenue unless the council puts money into it. So for instance, on the current fund, property taxes get dropped into that from the state. On the street fund, there's property taxes that get dropped in there, as well as different building permits and things like that. The park fund doesn't have that. And so what we do at the beginning of the year is we do a transfer from the current fund into the park fund. And then that gives the park fund money to operate with. And so it won't actually be in the negative. If you look at the park fund revenue, the park fund revenue sheet, there's a transfer in, and I believe it's for $24,000.
Revenue sheet, right here. No,
I guess I don't have to close my eyes and try to remember. I can just look.
Donations.
25, so right here. So this is the revenue sheet for parks. There's a transfer into park fund. So it's $25,000, and that gives the park fund money to run for the year. So this would be things like the money that is donated to the parks. This would be for tools and equipment and things like that. And this money comes from.
Where are the expenditures for parks?
It'll be a different sheet. It'll be on the expenditure sheet. And that 25,000 comes from the current fund expenditures. So basically just moving it from one line item to another. Right here. Transfer out of current fund. So it comes out of the current fund, 25,000, and then into the park fund. So the park fund has money. So it shows that it's negative, but it won't truly be negative because we'll be putting the money into it. So this is what you're seeing here. You're seeing a negative at the beginning of the year. It won't be because we'll move the money into it. So, but these are just the current balances right now, right here. So yeah, according to this, we have overspent in the park.
Do we have current balances for them?
In the fund. Yeah, these are the current balances for the different funds. This is truly right now. And then like at the end of November, when we update these.
So they already used the 20,000 that we put in last year?
Yeah, what did we put in last year? 20, yeah. And so you can see what we spent in the parks. You could see what we spent 20,000 on. So this would be the portable toilets down at McMurphy Park that have to get pumped several times a year. These are.
Now, are we renting those or are we own?
We own the toilets, but we pay for the pump. Yeah. So that's the portable toilet pumps. This is culture and community events. We kind of use this line item to hold any money that gets donated to the parks. So if there's a donation, it goes into that, and then the park board can decide how they want to spend it. Operating supplies and tools. So this is anything that we need to fix the park with. different grants that have happened over the past years. This is the water over at Worden Park comes out of here. Part of the fuel for the truck, the electricity for the parks. We don't have garbage service anymore. And then any improvements. So that's what it is.
This is broken off.
Oh, it must be on the
That's
next. Yeah, so you can't tell what
why I
page it
couldn't
is.
find it.
Yeah. So that's where the part that money goes. It goes for all the different utilities and maintenance on the parks.
Okay.
So,
So
so
then-
really a relatively small amount of money overall for all the parks that the city has.
And then it jumps to $460,000 in
So
revenue, or expenditures. Is that the buying bathroom?
So one of the, so we're putting it in here preemptively. If we don't use it, that's fine. We still have to wait for the state budget to come out to find out if we're gonna get awarded that grant for McMurphy Park with the bathrooms and the parking and all that. And so that is in here. So if on the revenue side, you can see that there's an RCO grant for local parks, and there's the $443,000 grant.
Yeah.
So this is anticipating to get that. So we've got the 443,000 coming in, and then on the expenditure side, we have the 443,000 coming out. Because we're gonna get it all and then we're gonna spend it all. So it's kind of a wash, right? And it zeroes out.
So with the 70-30 match, how does that work? Where are we gonna scrape the 30, or is that?
So our match, so if we get it, our match would come out of the REIT fund. So the real estate excise tax is the money we get every time a house sells. 1%. I think it's broken down into, Lisa, is it 2.5% or is it 2.25%? 2.25%. So you can see there's two line items, a REIT 1 and a REIT 2. So REIT 1 has, the state breaks it down into different regulations. You can spend REIT 1 one way and REIT 2 slightly different. So we have to keep track of it differently. Every time a house sells in the city, we get 0.25% into each line item. And so this money is constantly regenerating itself. If you look at where we are for the year so far, we've gotten about $32,000 worth of REIT funds. And so this fund right now is at what's on your overview sheet? Right now, we're at $128,000 sitting in that in the REIT fund total. We can only use that on capital expenditures. And so, for instance, we used it on that, on the street stuff recently, on the renting the equipment for the stormwater maintenance and all that stuff. And so that money is constantly regenerating. We use that money for the match for Worden Park to put the playground in. And so traditionally over the years.
We could use that to buy equipment for our maintenance, or buy a vehicle, or.
I don't know about a vehicle, but we could use it for putting a roof on City Hall or siding on the shop or something like that. Things like that. You can use it on roads, obviously.
The road.
In the past, we've saved it. This is way back when they were saving it up to use as matching funds for park projects and things like that. And so that's the idea, is that we'll use REIT funds again. We used 160,000 of REIT funds. Who's they?
Yeah.
What was I saying?
They were historically,
Yeah, so the mayor and council previously, so Ken Smith and Kevin Flynn and all the people that came before me and then myself, they didn't touch that for the most part. They just let it accumulate so that they could use it for matching funds on grants. So you could double, triple, quadruple your money by that. So we could use it for a lot of things, but so that's what the idea would be. Our matching funds for this McMurphy Park grant would be, we could use REIT money for it. And it always regenerates. And we used 80,000 for the Worden Park playground, and it's already back up to 128. So that's where the idea for the matching funds
How much was that match? 180?
It's 165.
So where are we scraping the rest of that from, aside from the 128?
So we've got about 130 in there right now. That money isn't, we won't have to worry about paying that money until at least July of next year. And so we'll have at least half a year to build up more sales. So, or more refunds. So, and this isn't, we'll get more money before the end of the year too, because this is our current balance at the end of October. And so we still have 2 more months. So.
So we're hoping that we sell more houses next year then. So what if we, say the market crashes? Because I mean, construction has slowed down.
So once we know for certain if we're going to get that grant again, we'll do the same thing we did the last time. So if you remember for the Worden Park project, we went out and we solicited for private grants and donations. And so we got $50,000 between Burlington Northern, TransAlta, and the Ben Cheney Foundation. And so we're going to do the same thing once we know we got it, and then we can go in and ask them to help cover part of the match. And so the idea is that we won't even need to use all of our refunds to do it.
Gotcha.
So we have a backup plan. It's not even a backup plan. We're going to do it no matter what. That way we don't have to spend our money if we don't have to.
Yeah.
So that's the park budget.
Thanks for walking through that.
Yeah. No, I'm happy.
I was looking
I'm
at
happy
it,
to.
some of it just didn't, it didn't quite look.
Sewer, yeah, the sewer budget's pretty, on the revenue side, it's a pretty short list of revenues. The sewer doesn't have a lot of money coming in. These are grants that are in years past.
Yeah,
we're not gonna have those in this year. Sewer sales. Sewer sales were at about 237. Estimate for this year in 2025 with the 6% increase, 251 is our estimate. Obviously, you guys will vote on that if that's actually going to stay here in just a little bit. Late fees, collection fees, hookup fees. So this is an estimate. Hookup fees for a new home are $4,500 for sewer. So this anticipates 10 new homes in 2025. With that shouldn't be a problem. There's already plans on the different subdivisions for that to happen. So it's a pretty conservative number. Different permitting fees that come in. That's about it. So about a little over 300,000 in anticipated revenue for the sewer plant. And then on the expenditure side, everything comes out of it. Everything from postage for the mailings. Lien recordings for people that don't pay their bills, if we have to put a lien on the house. A lot of these are old grants that we're not getting this year. Payroll for the different employees, so in some fashion, everyone works on the sewer plant, whether they're in billing or on the clerk side working on the budget, John, Phil, whoever. So it's different percentages that come out for that. This includes
the modifications we did to the job title.
This includes anticipated raises if those get voted on in the new budget. So this does include all of that. There are things.
Sewer billing clerk.
There are things in here that you can see in from years past. You can see here for sewer chemicals. We were spending about $1,400, $1,600 in past years. and now we're in the $11,000 range. The new sewer plant, you can see the difference when the new sewer plant kicked in. For some of the new, there's
Oh, it was supposed to save us money.
Yeah.
no. I think it was a cheaper alternative than some of the other plants they wanted us to build, but it's not saving us money, it's costing us money. Yeah, there's like, for instance, there's a large tank down there that we'd say some type of magnesium something, and they use it for pH control in the pond. And so we have to buy those in 500-gallon loads, and so that adds up. That's a big expense on that. What else is in here that really went up a lot? Power went up a lot. Where is electricity? Right here, electricity. So in the past, in 2020, we're at 7,000, 5,000. We're up to, we finished 2023 at nearly $20,000. So, we're looking at a 3 times increase in power costs down there with all the new pumps and aerators and all that. So that was a big cost. Loans. So the city has, we talked about this a couple months back. The city has old loans that it's still paying on. It's broken down into interest on a particular loan down here, and then principal on a particular loan up here. So they're kind of combined when we make the payment, but they're broken out in the budget. You can see how much we're spending on those loans right here. This is $40,000 a year. This loan gets paid off in 2026, this one in 2038, and this one in 2040. So some of these are still have quite a bit of time left on them. But they will go away. More than likely, we'll probably have a loan of some kind for this outfall and lift station project. And we probably won't have to start making payments until about the time this one finishes up. And so we'll probably just switch out one loan for another. And you can see that our total for the sewer is about the same as our revenue. The revenue was 310 and our expenditures were 308, but that does include a 6% increase to make that match. So that's the sewer. Any other questions on the sewer? Comments? Pretty easy one to follow. And then there's the general fund. Obviously, there's a lot more to it. Some of the highlights, well, on the revenue side of the general fund, there really aren't a lot of highlights. Go up to property tax. So you can see that our property tax, if you go back to 2017, we were at 60. I think this is only 75% of the property tax. The other 25 goes into the street fund. So we get 75 into the current fund and 25% into the, but you can see here that it's pretty much unchanged. If you go back, actually, if you go way back.
Did you share that screen?
Oh, I'm sorry, Bob. I'm sharing the agenda with you still. That's not as fun.
Is it there now, Bob?
He said thank you.
Yeah, so this table here, if you want to see, this is our property tax revenue, the year, and then this is our sales tax revenue. So how much money the city got for property tax and how much it got for sales tax. And you can see in 1998, we were getting $40,000 a year. And, we've stayed, 2010, 70, 6 years later, still getting 70, and we did bump it up 4 or 5 years ago. And so, in the last 14, 15 years, we're only getting another $12,000 a year in property taxes. And that's directly related to whether or not the city, the council raises its property taxes, right? If we don't raise property taxes, we don't get $1 more. You have to, just because your house gets more, your valuation goes up doesn't mean the city gets any more money. We have to ask for more money. And so the city hasn't really gotten much of a raise in a decade and a half. And then you see our sales tax column here, it does go up. This was an odd year, it's 60,000. This is the year we paid for our sewer plant, and we paid sales tax and all of that, and we got some of it back in a bump. So we kind of came back around to ourselves because we spent $5 million on a wastewater plant in 2021. But you can see that we're kind of in the $40,000 a year range for sales tax right now. So this is our this is primarily what cities run on, is property tax and sales tax. If you go to a big city like Chehalis and Centralia, this number is much bigger. Toledo, in fact, is like $170,000. And they're not much bigger than us, but they have a lot of businesses that we don't have. And so
we all go there and spend our dollar there and give them our tax.
Yeah, we go over there and spend our money in their stores. So really, sales tax is the only knob that the city of Vader, or excuse me, property tax is the only knob the city of Vader has to turn to combat inflation. Without adjusting our property tax, we can't combat inflation. We just don't. We don't really get much more money. The state sends us a little bit more on some of those other line items, but not much. And so this is why I always advocate for the city council, at least for now, to consider raising sales tax, or excuse me, property tax, at least some, to help combat the increases in expenses that the city has.
How much are you proposing?
Well, even if we maxed it out, we could only ask for an extra $16,000 a year on top of this number, on top of the 82 that we already asked for. So if it figures $16,000 a year, on a $300,000 house, you're looking at $40 a year. So a couple bucks a month is what it comes out to and that's if you did it all. So it's not very much. That is the story on that revenue line item. So that's property tax, sales tax, and then these are all the other various revenues we get from the state, or our franchise agreements with the telephone companies and the electric companies and the water and the sewer and the garbage, and it just goes on and on and on. Building permit fees, liquor taxes.
So our building permit fees, one of the things, because right now, the way I'm feeling, I don't want to raise any taxes.
Sure.
And I've told you that. And I keep thinking about when we brought Brandon on, he saved us, what? Darren. Why did I say Brandon? Sorry, Darren. When we brought him on, it was just a couple months and he was saving us thousands of dollars, right?
Yeah.
And so we're looking at $16,000 or 15 if we did everything.
If you did it all, yeah.
If we did everything, it was $16,000. We saved that this year.
Yeah,
But I understand this also, because we need money to do things.
Yeah, we have gotten creative or started thinking about things differently to try to find revenue other ways, or limit expenses. That's on the.
Is this in here?
It's not in there. It's not in there.
Have we allocated funds to go back to pursuing that? Can we?
Yeah, but let's finish it.
That's why we're getting money. Like, let's keep it in mind.
So it's true, and he is doing inspections where we would normally outsource that, and so he's doing a number of inspections himself that he's qualified for, and so it is that position this year the building department this year is absolutely making and or costing a lot. It's costing a lot less than it used to, i.e. it's actually making money this year versus other years. I started to try to figure that out. So this building permit summary thing, this is kind of that overview. These are only the building permit fees. And I was thinking I think this includes, yes, this is the sewer fund. So in 25, I was thinking that we'd have about $55,000 in revenue for building permit related things. This does not include new sewer hookups. So this would be general fund related only. And then expenditures, about 21. So you're seeing that we're going to make about 30,000
off of
on that.
doing it.
Now, that doesn't include things like paying him, right? So this would be like building permit money comes in, also we get building permit money in, and then we have to send certain building permit money out that we get in to pay for inspections from Conrad or our planner or our engineer, right?
Yeah.
So those things. So what's the difference between how much we collect and how much we pay to a third party? And it's about $30,000. And so,
yes, but the issue is that we've had that bill for years. We've always had another person
right,
that does what Brandon does.
So yeah, so
but not as good.
For instance, we would collect 40,000.
Darren.
Yeah. So what you're saying is, so in the past we would collect 40,000, and then we would spend 40,000 on third parties because the person in house could only just kind of shuffle the paperwork around.
Yes.
Where now is we'll collect it and then only spend half of it. And so that other money can go towards his payroll. And so we can get his services for an equivalent of $10,000 or $15,000 a year to run our building department versus it used to cost us $40,000 a year to run a building department. So yeah, so this year it was a big game changer for that. And we're still looking at ways to expand his capabilities, maybe with additional training or so that he can start doing even more inspections.
So then the other thing is, say we increase this, what is it for? I think it was the last 2 times we raised this, it was for something. It was for the computer program. At one point, it was the whole
Codification.
Yes, thanks, Bob.
Which is a game changer. I can't even imagine not having that. Like if we didn't have that today, like I can't believe the city didn't have that before.
Yeah.
Anyway, it just.
So what is this for? Is it just it's up there and we can spend it, or do we have something specific? I mean, at this point, because I'm not for it, right? But I want you to sell me on, we're gonna do this with it. You know, like Mike just said, the water's not in here. That could be a game changer.
Why isn't that? Like, we're trying to move forward, and we got these projects that we're trying to generate and create, and that's all exciting, right?
Yeah, I can talk to that.
But like, the water, like, we get our water back. It's a big deal.
Because I really don't. If I say yes to it, I don't want to say, oh, I raised your taxes. No, I want to say, I raised your taxes for this reason, and this is what we're going to do with it. And
all right.
It's going to help us.
So, so just in general, the city's expenses have always continued to go up. You know, payroll aside, you know, the price of gas, the price of insurance, the price of the sheriff's contract, the price of whatever it is, everything goes up. Now, the city pays higher and higher prices regardless. And so as we start paying more and more, our income, our revenue is basically staying flat or increasing a lot slower than our expenses. So just in general, just to stay, keep our spending power the same, the city needs a pay raise. And the only way to do that is with adjusting property taxes. And even with raising them up, because the city hasn't raised taxes in years again, and even before that, it was very limited in how much. It's not enough to keep our spending power where it was. Think about why did the city lose the water to begin with, right? Mismanagement, right? The city council did not want to raise utility rates. We don't want to pay for this pipe. We don't want to pay for all this. And so they didn't raise utility rates. And what happened? They got further and further and further behind on maintenance to the point where they could never recover, and the water system got taken away.
Well, there was also some money going in people's pockets too. I believe.
I've heard that, but there was never any
substantiated
proof or anything like that. There were a lot of I know when Ken Smith got into office, they found all kinds of bills that were late, that weren't being paid. And so the city was really underwater and no one knew it at the time. The clerks had been kind of covering it up, whether it was not necessarily them skimming money off the top, but just not wanting to relay the fact that they were spending more than they had for income. So I don't know, and I don't think we'll ever know that, but the point is the council didn't want to raise rates for these things as things got more expensive, and then eventually it got taken away, and now here we are, 15 years later, 10 years later, dealing with those repercussions still. So just to keep our spending power close, we need to raise property taxes for that, just to give the city a pay raise.
The other way of doing it is sales tax.
So the city could, we match, I think Centralia is the only city that has a higher sales tax in the county. Everyone else is the same.
No, I'm not saying raising sales tax. I'm saying the other income is sales tax. So right now, I noticed that we don't have this year's numbers weren't on there for revenue from sales tax.
Because the disbursement hasn't come in?
So far, we're at 48,000, and we still have 2 months left. So our sales tax for the year is at 48,000.
Do those disbursements come in monthly?
Like quarterly, something like that.
And it was, last year, it was 43.
In 20.
Is that what that says? I can't see it.
This is our estimate for 24. So in 24, we estimated 43. Okay. So far, we're at 48. We still have 2 months to go. So we're a little higher on the estimates. In 23, we were at 46 for the year. So in 2023, we collected 46,000 for the year. We're actually at 48 this year, and we still have 2 months left. Historically, the last 2 months of the year, so in 23 for December and November, we got 4,000 and 3,000. So we might be able to expect another $7,000 for the remainder of this year. Doesn't everyone have sheets like this?
I have a comment.
And so another 7, so we might be at more like 55 by the end of the year.
Okay, and that, to me, that's jumped because of tracks.
Yeah, and handcrafted merchant.
It's
sold a few.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely,
sales tax.
That businesses.
That's what we need more of. Is the people that come in and do stuff.
So
I know.
So in previous years, I have attributed about half of our sales tax revenue to Little Cranes.
Yeah.
That's how important Little Crane is to this town.
Oh, yeah.
And the other half,
Why do you think I've gained 80 pounds?
yeah, when I ran my personal budget, I realized how much I was spending at the tracks in Little Crane, and I was single-handedly keeping those places in business, I think. But the other half of that sales tax would come from people buying, doing improvements on their home, contractors and things like that, or even buying things, so mail order, right? Anything that gets delivered to your house, that sales tax that you spend, so if you buy something from Amazon, that sales tax eventually comes back to the city. And that's a big one, I think, if you look in the last 7 or 8 years, why sales tax has grown so much. Our businesses haven't gone up, but our sales tax has. One, the cost of goods. 2, people working on their houses. And 3, at-home delivery. Makes a big difference.
So Dollar General.
Outside the city limits.
So how much would it cost? Can we find the numbers that they're given to the county? If we're working on this annex thing.
I've never been able to find an individual business's, obviously they report to the state their income, and the state bases taxes on that. I don't know if that's necessarily a public record or if it's, or at some point that's private.
I would feel kind of weird if somebody was looking at my deal on our reports.
But there's different things you can do, like you can kind of make some estimates, and I've kind of figured it out, what would Dollar General bring in, and obviously half of what they sell is food and it's not taxed anyway. And so, it's in the $10,000 to $12,000 range probably for sales tax. I mean, if you figure Little Crane's 20-ish, what is Dollar General on the non-food items, So it percentage-wise, it's a good increase for our sales tax. And we definitely should pursue that option. But it's not a get rich quick kind of scheme.
Right.
I have a comment.
Yes.
Do you want to, if you guys are gonna wrap it up, you want to open that up to public comment?
Yeah, public comment, Bob, go for
it. If Trump gets in office and drops the gas prices to $2 and the inflation to where you can go in the store and buy groceries again, that's a raise for everybody. And so that's my argument against raising the property taxes. Thanks.
I think, Joe, and the average people out there in the city will look and go, okay, what did the city start with? What do they have in the bank at the beginning of the year? How much do they have at the end of the year that they're going to transfer over to 26?
So,
To 25.
Oh, 25, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So,
Senior moment.
if we do 2025, like I'd like the council to approve, assuming that this balance stays the same. Again, this is our ending balance at the end of October. We got 2 months to go. We get money in from the state during that 2 months. We spend money on payroll. So all these numbers are going to fluctuate. If we followed the budget to the letter, and if this was our actual beginning balance, and we really had these revenues and really had these expenditures, this is what's left in the bank at the end of the year. And so you're starting at 130 and you're ending at 53. Or if you look at all the funds together, you're starting at 137 and you're ending at 67. Now, why that looks bad? That looks bad. But let me explain why. Why it's negative right now because we've spent more for parks than what we budgeted for last year.
And that doesn't.
What do we spend? Electricity, utilities. Yeah, we just didn't budget. We just didn't budget quite enough. It's not that big a deal because, again, the general fund is actually composed of all three of these. So as long as the general fund isn't negative.
Right,
It's not a big deal. So this is really the main fund number. These are kind of sub-funds within it. So if you look, so if we really started the year at 137 and we really ended the year at 67, that looks really bad, right? Looks like we're really overspending. Now, so why is it that bad? First, there's the $40,000 in remaining ARPA money that the city has. We have to spend that. This is the deadline to spend it. Actually, we're going to talk about it here later in the agenda. So one reason why this is so big, such a big difference, is because we're spending $40,000 that we already have that we have to spend or we're going to lose it. So that takes care of, that takes us down to 100. So really we're going from about 100 down to 67. So
That's
we're
some really tight margins.
so that's a 30. So we're going to end about $30,000 less than where we began. Again, assuming we do everything exactly as we say. So what is in the budget that is so big that's causing that? In the budget is enough money to do the annexation, to annex in the UGA, which includes the Dollar General. So in the budget so it's a one-time cost. Expenditures, if you go down to where is insurance? There's the police contract there for 100, which is a huge portion of our budget. Right here, this line here. So if you see here historically for building and planning, 17, 12, 8. This number is inflated for 2023. Some of the building permit stuff got put in it for this year, which made it a lot more. It wasn't a lot of this
pre-buying.
A lot of this was reimbursed to the city through permits. So subdivisions, right? The subdivisions go through a ton of planning, and so it got paid for through building permits. So $34,000 is what I have in there.
Year to date, we've only got 1,200, so.
Yeah, so that would be actual so this year I think we did a better job of putting it in the budget where we recorded this as city-related planning expenses. And then this one right here is building permit-related planning city expenses, meaning since it was a building permit, there were fees that covered it. So really the city hasn't spent a whole lot on its own planning needs. Does that make sense?
So the 34 is for planning and development.
So yeah, so I've gotten one estimate so far for annexation. And there's a lot to it, and it's hard for them to estimate because a lot of it's based on time. And if the county pushes back on certain things, it could take more time based on the planner. And so one estimate I got was 25,000. Today I had a discussion with the new planning company, SBN, and they're going to have a proposal for you all to look at in a couple of weeks. They're thinking 20 to 30 is probably a good number. So that's why I have such a large number in there. It's a one-time expense. It's a lot. We can do it. And after it's done, the city...
We're going to make that back
we'll make 4 times that in the very first year.
Yeah.
And every year going forward after that. From all the property taxes, from the city being larger, from all those new businesses, from this new sales tax, Dollar General, all those folks that are ordering online and delivery to their house, the sales tax will go a lot bigger. The population of the city will increase. A lot of our revenue is based on population, so that will go up. And so it is a lot of money, but it will pay for itself forever. And if you look at, again, the city council doesn't want to raise property taxes, and I appreciate that. How is the city going to survive into the future? You can't not get a pay raise and just continue on forever. City can't just operate on
Man, I've been
$200,000 forever and
too
then
long, dude, being self-employed. I only get paid more money if I work harder, I produce more.
yeah. So anyway, so bringing in the city, government's a drain. It doesn't make a product, right? I mean, the government is a service. It's not, parks don't make money. They cost money, but they're for the benefit of the people.
Right.
Just government's not a business.
Is there a proposal how many new homes are gonna be built this next year?
We're estimating low on just on 10. I mean, we know 7 will go in.
For Jerry's place up there.
7 will go in up there. We're hopeful that the Kessel Court one at the end of 10th will go in. I know they were talking about starting clearing on that. And then the Hendrickson one here at the end of E Street and D Street, they have submitted a slightly smaller project, I think 8 homes instead of like the dozen or 14 that they initially presented. So they're waiting for the planning committee and then the council to approve some new development regulations. Planning committee is going to have their hearing about them tomorrow. That'll make their project a little bit easier to finish up. And so we're looking at 15 or 20 easy.
2 or 3 phase project up on the hill there. It's supposed to be like 200 homes going in up there. You talked about earlier this year.
So that's so that was kind of a dream project, and there's been no movement on it. The owner is, last time I talked to him, he was going to bring in a proposal for the city to look at. It still hasn't happened, so it's not something we'd want to bet on. Something that we definitely want to encourage and support, but not something we'd want to plan for in the short term.
With those 10 homes that'll be going in, how much revenue do you think the city will get initially off of those homes? The building permits.
So every home would have a new sewer connection, which is $4,500 a piece. So that's $45,000. That's in the sewer budget already. It takes a little while for that other revenue to finally start trickling in, right? So 10 homes, how much population is that? I mean, not very much. So not a whole lot of population increased revenue from that.
You get the building permits and what is it, 0.5%?
Yeah, and then when they sell, yeah, we'll get REIT money. And so that would happen in that year, in this year, and that's in the budget already. Those
numbers are already in there.
Yeah, those are already in these numbers. So not a lot of change unless the city does something to make the change happen. So, which is why annexation is important.
And now all of these numbers, are these numbers with the increase or without the increase?
These are without a property tax increase.
Okay.
So, another thing that's in here as far as increases are payroll increases. Our employees get their step increase. We also, as I mentioned previously, there's not just their step increase, but there's minimum wages going up this year. And so the idea was to bump them up the same percentage as minimum wages going up so that they're that much above minimum wage still. That way minimum wage doesn't catch up with our employees, which happened in the past. And so it's a total of 5.3% for that. And that's already in here. So, what would a property tax increase pay for? Well, it would help pay for increases to our payroll. Because if we don't pay our employees more, we're not going to have employees, or we'll always have new employees that don't know what they're doing, and then the city will have problems again. And so I attribute how well the city is doing to having good employees, and so the city needs to maintain that. So what's going up in price this year? We need to pay our employees a little bit more. So a property tax increase would help us do that. Property tax increase would help us pay for the annexation. So people want other things around town, and
But we have all those things budgeted in here already.
we do, but you can see here that we are kind of overspending if we have, minus the ARPA money, if we have 100 starting out and we get down to 67, we're spending about 30,000 more than we're starting out with. And so, but again, that's hopefully a one-time cost related to
the
annexation.
So with the last meeting, you were talking about pushing the water back out a couple of years.
So the plan,
my question is, if we took it back over now, what kind of revenue would you be getting in to offset this property tax raise that you're looking at?
Well, first let me say what my long-term plan is for the, it's not long at all, actually. It's unnervingly fast. In 2025, I mean, I'd like the council to approve the move forward with annexation. Hopefully in a couple of weeks, we get that presentation to you and you can say, yes, we want to do this. We go in, we get it done, and we're done by June. Like move on this. We want to be done by the middle of the year. I think July 1st is the deadline, because if you don't have new properties annexed in by July 1st, you won't see the increased revenue the following year.
Until the following year.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So let's say we get our annexation done June 30th. In 2026, we can see that increase to the property taxes.
We'll start in quarterly district.
Yeah, the 2026 distributions would be larger. If you miss that deadline, we'd have to wait until 2027 to see our first increases to property tax. We will see relatively quickly, though, increases to our sales tax because of the way they distribute it. We'd see that right away instead of waiting for the new year. And there's some also population-related things that we'd see sooner as well. But for the property tax, we need to get it done the first half of the year to meet that deadline. And so my goal would be the council immediately approve it. We start working on it, and it's done by that. And then in 2026, we'll start seeing the full reward for that work.
For the annexation.
And once that's done, we start working on the water. We have a new source of revenue, over $100,000 a year, and we can self-fund the water receivership costs, which are going to be substantial. It'll probably be $30,000 or $40,000 worth of costs to put in a water system action plan. We're going to have to hire employees and all that different stuff to get that going before we finally get it back. And so it's going to cost some money. And I don't want this, and I want the city to have extra, that's not really the right word, but revenue to be able to do that and not be worried about how much it's costing us. We should get the water system back and be confident that we can do this without having to worry about, okay, hurry up, get the water system back, so that way we can afford to pay for the water system. It's not the way it should be. We should be very stable and confident, and then get the water system back. So the idea would be annexation in 25, water system in 26. I have already asked the county. Obviously, Commissioner Brummer was here last time, and he was saying that they'd be receptive to a one-year extension. So our current timeline expires at the end of 25. It would be at the end of 20. Our new extension would be at the end of 26. And so doing all these things in the order that I just outlined would all just work out just right. That's the 2-year plan. Annexation, water system. And then we can self-fund it.
I just see in that 2025 estimating ending balance at $67 when we just paid November's bills, it was $47,000. I mean, at least it's 20,000. I would keep in mind. Seeing that on my own account, I would be crapping myself.
So these numbers here that you approve every month are a combination of the general fund expenses and sewer fund expenses. And so this is not just general fund, this is general fund and sewer fund expenses, so this is everything. So I would say this is probably, I don't know, it's probably not 50-50, it's 40-60. 60% general, 40% sewer probably.
Okay, so, I mean, what's 60% of that, you know, and then give or take inflation where.
Well, the city is always close. I mean.
No, right now we're not that close.
That's just kind of, yeah, we've got 130 and yeah, well, keep in mind, this number is inflated by about $40,000 because, well, more than that, because it's got the window money in there too, right? We got the jail money from the broken window money from the insurance company last year. We haven't spent that money yet. So there's really about $45,000 in here that's supposed to be expended towards items beyond payroll and things like that. So we're more like 95,000 of discretionary, I don't know what the right word to use, but 95,000 is more like this number right here. So we're at 95, and so by the end of the year, we'd probably be, again, about $30,000 less. But the way it works is that, you know, we're always getting money from the state, you know, it's, you know, if you look at those monthly reconciliations, we're getting 3,000 here, 5,000 there, and we get big chunks on a quarterly basis. So there's just always guaranteed money coming in. That's the nice thing about the property tax money. It's pretty much guaranteed, right? I mean, we're going to get that much money. You know, if the economy crashed and we didn't have sales tax, we wouldn't get, if no one spent any money, you know, we wouldn't get that 40,000, but we would get the property tax money. So anyway.
And if we maxed it, right now, if we maxed it.
You're not.
No, I don't think it's a dead horse.
Okay.
I think
You're not. You're not. I'm like, so I'm conflicted because me, my budget that I have at my house, it's not gonna really affect me. Okay, but we live in a historically poor town, and I mean, I don't know. Where are they though to tell us or to say, hey?
Over $16,000, we're gonna give a lot of ill will, and you just said it, $16,000. It's not gonna make or break us, but it's gonna cause a lot of ill will.
It's not, but this number.
There's a lot of people that cannot afford anymore.
Yeah, if you trusted these numbers, you know, this number, I mean, Mike said this number makes him uncomfortable. This number would be $16,000 higher.
Yeah.
But the city doesn't have a rainy day fund.
Well,
and that
16,000 isn't going to be a rainy day.
And that's a longer term, that's a bigger discussion too. You know, the city really should have, you know, a public works reserve fund for trucks and things. The city really should have all kinds of reserve funds for this and that, but it doesn't. We do have one reserve fund. We have the sewer reserve fund, and the city has $300,000 in our sewer reserve fund, right? This is money that for a decade, the city took $30,000 a year from the general fund and redirected it into the sewer fund and built that reserve fund up. And so, you know, we haven't done that the last several years. You know, the city suffered a lot for.
You're going to need that if you get the water back, and then we start having problems with rains and stuff.
Exactly, and that's what it's for. You know, the water system didn't have that too. And one of the things the county did when they came in is that they started a capital reserve fund. And you'll see that on your bill. There's like a $7 fee or something like that the county does. And they have a big reserve fund to pay for things like that now. And that was something that needed to happen and that utilities must have to be solvent. And so, you know, the city doesn't have a lot of extra money to be stashing big reserve funds away for public works and things like that. We want to change that. City needs to grow. We need to have more revenue, and that's the pathway is to be a bigger city. And when I say bigger, I'm not, you know, snap your fingers and make us double our size, we're still smaller than Winlock, right? So we're not talking about being Chehalis here, but we are talking about being something a little bit more stable for the long term. So, we're still in the public hearing here. Can we do this without it, straightforward? Can we do everything we're saying without a property tax increase? I think so. But our expenses just go up every single year and our revenue does not go up every single year.
Yes, but I think the table is turning. I really do, because like in my personal business, I haven't raised my prices as much as my expenses have been raised to compensate, because I'm holding out for 2 weeks ago, and now that Trump's in there, I think that my expenses are going to start going down. My fuel's gonna go down, I spend a ton of that. Shipping's gonna go down because of all the energy. I just think that right now, $16,000, we're okay without it. I think that some of the expenses might come down, and then we can look at it again next year.
That's how
I think that obviously we bank it, because that's just stupid if we don't. But I really feel that the ill will and I don't see that if we don't absolutely have to have it right now, we wait to see what this next year does, and then we adjust it from there.
And what we're looking at is we're saying, okay, in 2025, we'll spend all of the refunds. Right?
If we get the grant, if we're lucky enough to get it, which would be very lucky. And if we didn't get any other grants, which we'll at least get some. Worst case, we would spend all of it, but our goal is not to spend all of it. This will be the worst case.
Hey, Joe, is there any way that we could do a partial increase and help the city out and lessen the blow on the residents?
The council could choose any dollar amount up to the maximum. I mean, you don't have to do 16,000. You could do, 8,000 to cover, a quarter of the annexation costs, something like that.
If you do that this year, and you gotta come back next year and go, well, we need that other 8,000. Is it better to do it now?
See, and that's.
Or, hey, we're gonna raise.
Because there are some people out there. There are some people out there that are skeptical and not as forward thinking as Mr. Parsons there about what happened 2 weeks ago. That there's a lot of things that need to happen instead of just not to get political or anything, but.
Not to get political, we're in a government meeting.
You are political. This is funny.
I have hope.
But I'm just saying, is there any way that we could come to an agreement on maybe half?
You're still raising, still the OL. It doesn't matter if it goes up $1, it's still the OL.
Once you raise it, you can't give it back next year, right? Like you go percent.
I mean,
just a suggestion.
That's not how it works.
You could.
You can.
You could. I've seen it.
I got sold on that a couple years ago.
I propose we close the public
Yeah.
comment and public hearing, and then go down to our city business and then discuss to make the decision.
You're the one that wanted to comment during the public hearing.
No, I am, but I'm getting off track of
I know,
what
just,
the hearing is supposed to be about, and you're discussing whether or not to raise it, and you can do that. during
sure.
When was the last time that you've seen our water rates go up?
Excuse me,
electricity
John.
Rates go up, and then the prices of fuel and groceries went down. That electricity, rate don't go down. It'll probably take another drop.
Yeah.
Most of our expenses are, I mean, the largest part of our expenses are payroll. It's the city's expenses, right? People are expensive, good people are expensive. And so.
And they are. Good.
They are good. And so regardless of what happens at the national level, I don't see it affecting our budget very much unless people really started to eat a little crane like nuts and really driving up the sales tax. It's just not, it's not going to turn the knob very much.
Just for me, and this is just my own personal thing, right? I've had 2 shows since the election, and they have been the best shows in the last 5 years that I've ever had. It was crazy the amount, I mean, we couldn't keep up with doing what we were doing. And so, and everybody that I talked to, all the other vendors were like, holy cow, what just happened? Like the floodgate opened up. And so.
You have hope too.
Yeah, so, I mean, let's see.
Ms. Middle, no, I don't sell.
Yeah, like,
I'm starving.
for instance, I mean, probably just a rough calculation, Jason was asking like a partial increase. If, the city could raise property taxes 16,000 a year, let's say you did a quarter of that, right? That's $4,000. How much is that to an average home in town? You're looking at about 90 cents a month. That's about what it comes down to.
We can't get that out to people. They don't listen to that.
Are they hearing?
All they listen to is, we're raising your taxes.
I just wanted to make sure you understood how.
And I understand that, but people have just been beaten down this last few years, and why hit them one more time? Next year.
Let me close.
And we can tell them next year, hey, we're going to do this next year. And so get ready for it, because it's coming. We have to do it sooner or later. But I think this year is not the good year to do it.
Let me close the public hearing as Lisa suggested, and we'll move into item 1 of city business, which is a little bit more, discussion. So I'm going to close this public
comment.
The public comment section.
And close the public.
I'm going to close the public comment at 7:35 PM. That's part of the public hearing. And as long as the council's okay with it, I'm going to close the council discussion as portion of the public hearing as well.
I'm okay.
All right, closing also at 7:36, the council portion of the public hearing, which is the complete closing of the public hearing. Okay, item 1, council to consider ordinance 2024-10, 2025 property tax levy rate. So I think I've, gosh darn it, I was going to say something else. There was a discussion about whether or not to raise the levy rate at all. I will say this. Looking at our numbers, the city's numbers historically, and what we've been doing with the amount of employees we have, which is not very many, with the amount that we pay, which is still below market average, 3 or 4 years from now, this city would be out of money. I mean, you just can't not increase revenue somehow substantially and continue doing what we're doing. It's just too much. I'm not saying we're being irresponsible at all. We're not. but the world is getting more expensive than a 700-person town with no sales tax can afford.
Unless we got, 996, we gotta raise our sewer rate.
So, but just on the general fund side of things, the sewer fund I'm not worried about at all. Sewer fund we're good on. But also keep in mind that part of payroll comes from the general fund as well as the sewer fund. So they kind of need to work hand in hand to make this work. So, what are our options? What are we going to do to fix this problem long term? And it's to be bigger. And so that's why my request for this annexing the UGA in.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you guys are going to be able to say yay or nay on whether or not this is what we're going to do, what the direction we want to go. But keep in mind, if you say nay, what is your plan to pay for the city in the next several years, if not for that?
On the annex?
Right. If we don't annex it, I'm
good with the annex.
I'm just trying to make that clear. What's the city going to do to fix this revenue problem? Because we have less and less money every year. What are we going to do? And the answer is, for me, is annexation. And if the council doesn't feel annexation is the right move, then we need to have a much darker conversation about which employees we're not going to keep around anymore and what the direction of the city is going to be.
I feel like we just flipped the page on choose your own adventure, and I think that I do. And I believe that annexation is going to be a more positive experience for everybody.
So I just wanted to say that before council voted on whether property taxes are really the direct a knob we wanted to tweak or not. So that's I just wanted to make that clear.
Fast forward June, July, when the community does. I mean, they have an opportunity to speak against the annexation.
There will be, yeah.
That, right?
Shannon Valley, the folks out by Dollar General, all these people that we're going to bring into the city to help pay for the city will absolutely get to come here and be before the city council during a public hearing, it could be a very rough public hearing. I don't think it'll be like tonight.
No.
And so I think in the long run, it's good for those folks. Shannon Valley gets no love from the county. And why don't they have a park for the kids down there?
Yeah.
They don't. If they were part of the city, we could be using that REIT money to build them a park. When I say build them, they'd be part of the city. Why don't they have a park right down there? They don't.
Oh, I see what you're pointing at.
Right there, on that map right there. You can see
a massive
it's
field
like another
right there.
town down there, and there's no park for the kids, right?
Huge.
Why not?
Nothing.
I mean, if they were part of the city, they would probably vote themselves in, and they'd be saying, hey, let's build a park in that part of town. So there are many advantages for them. One, being able to sit here. Two, actually dictate where their money goes. Right now it goes to the county.
Isn't
The county spends it on, I don't know, Schaefer Park up in Centralia. I don't know.
Isn't the county taxes more don't they pay more to live in the county than they do in the city?
Yeah, so the county has a roads tax that the city does not have, but the city, of course, has its city tax. The county roads tax plus the library fees, right? Everyone in the county pays a library fee, is more than the city of Vader property taxes. Now, there are some other fees that they'd probably be subject to that they're not now. For instance, franchise fees and things like that. So like the city's telephone tax, a couple bucks on your telephone bill, your water tax, your garbage, things like that. So some of those things, so some of those things might not be paying already. We'll in the process, we'll be figuring that out. And so they may pay less, or it might be about the same by the time you figure all that in. So bringing them in, those folks probably won't. As far as the worry that it'll be more expensive, it will not even be noticeable. Even the savings will probably not be noticeable. What's $150 a year? Some people a lot of money, but I have a feeling a lot of people probably waste $150 pretty easily over the course of a year. So,
Mhm.
but anyway, so just remember that, when we start having those public hearings and we start saying we're getting this done in 6 months, those people are going to come and not be happy. But I think in the long run it'll be beneficial for them. So levy rate.
And then if that doesn't pass, then we're gonna have to raise taxes for the following year. I mean, that's just, that, I was trying to get to that.
Yeah. All right, so item number 1, ordinance 2024-10, property tax levy rate.
I don't know where to read it. I make a motion that we do not raise the property tax levy rate.
We have a motion by Mr. Parsons to not increase the property tax levy rate for 2025. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Ms. Goff. Discussion?
With a note, so when anybody's listening to this, more than likely it's gonna happen next year. So be ready for it.
Start saving.
I mean, this is the discussion period. The council has been, not just you folks, but people came before you. And I was on the council for a number of years as well. We went years between increases. And even when we did increase, it was, for instance, the fire levy that just passed this year.
Mm-hmm.
That one increase to property taxes was more in 1 year than the city could have raised, than we could raise right now. I mean, if we raised it all, it was like, we're like a quarter of what that was, and so it's a very minimal amount the city is even able to do, but the council hasn't. And so again, that's, folks should feel good that the council has done their best to try to mitigate costs.
I think, Joe, in the past that we've also talked about using the stuff that we've banked and getting closer to zero, and we went and used like half of it, half of our bank, and we were going to use another large portion of it soon after that, or the next year.
There's been different discussions about that. With the city and it's with the size and the percentage of funds coming from property tax, I really feel that the city should try to get all its bank capacity used up, and then, until things change, just do the 1% every single year that's allotted to us. So there would never be a very large increase. That's what most of the small cities do, but Vader dared to be different. So that's why we're a city. We can choose our own destiny, and so that's what we felt was right.
I have a question.
Yes.
Thanks. Didn't Ross say something about banking that property tax or that increase? Didn't he say something about being better to have a little bit of bank in there?
Yeah. So what he said was, it's kind of the idea of having a rainy day fund, right? Don't use all of your taxes up. Don't use all your bank capacity up. Mm-hmm. Have that. So when you're doing your budget like we are for next year, you can say, hey, we're going to have a lean year. We need to increase funding somehow, and have that there so that you can increase it when needed and not be living right on the edge all the time. If you've been following the local news recently, you can see that Centralia had quite a bit of bank capacity. They voted to use all of it. In fact, I think their property taxes are doubling this year up there because of it. Centralia voted to use all of their bank capacity. So they're seeing, I think, a 25% increase in property taxes. Who else? Pretty much everybody, because the estimates from the state with regard to sales tax is that 2025 is going to be a very bad year. And so everyone is seeing budget deficits in 2025. Oh, the county as well, which is why they're kind of trying to squeeze us for the water meter reads. County tripled all their building. I don't know if you all saw that. County tripled all their building permit fees in the 2025. Their new fee schedule came out for that. And so, huge. So there's a lot of worry, at the municipal side because of that. On the good side of things, as we've just discussed, Vader doesn't rely very heavily on sales tax. Because we just don't have any, and so we don't have much to lose. Some of the things that could go down though are some of the state assisted funding that we get based on population. If they have less money, then those things can go down. But the estimates so far that I've seen for us aren't bad. So, but everyone else is freaking out. So,
I still think, Joe, that doing some kind of a partial thing this year, because especially since of what you just said, would benefit the city. And if they're so confident that things are going to go down, then it shouldn't hurt by this time next year.
All right, well, there's a motion on the floor to not raise, so let's vote on that, and if it gets a majority, then that'll be the way it'll go. If it doesn't pass, then Jason, we can probably entertain an alternative to a 0 increase in another motion. How does that sound?
Okay.
All right. So all those in
second.
Yeah, we had a second already. So all those in favor of not raising the property tax levy rate in 2025, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
All right, the ayes have it. So as far as ordinance 2024-10, we will not raise the property tax levy rate. So moving on to item number 2 then, resolution 14-2024, banking the property tax levy capacity. So this would be to save our capacity so that we could utilize it again in another year.
Yeah.
I make a motion that we approve resolution 14-2024, banking the property tax levy capacity.
And I don't know if we have to say the full amount.
I will second.
Or I guess you could just say the full amount.
And the full amount.
Yeah.
Bank it, baby.
Yeah, I think it's, I don't.
My worksheet.
9.9.
Okay, I have eagle eyes and this is like
Huh?
Can you borrow my readers?
19.86.
19.86.
We have a motion by Mr. Parsons to approve banking the full amount of our capacity. Listed here as 19.86%. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Ferguson. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I got him as an aye. Motion carries.
All right, cool.
All right, moving on to easy stuff. Council to consider resolution 13-2024, update hours of operation for City Hall. Right now, City Hall is open until 6 o'clock on Thursday. If you remember at our last meeting, we discussed moving all the city meetings to Wednesday nights. So Parks and Planning Committee and City Hall would all be on Wednesday nights. So the idea would be to move the night City Hall is open extra long, which is Thursday, move it to Wednesday. So that's, since the clerks are already here on Wednesday nights, and then as soon as City Hall closes, then the meetings can start. So.
I make a motion that we approve resolution 13-2024, updating the hours of operation for City Hall.
We have a motion by Mr. Parsons to approve resolution 13-2024, updating the hours of operation. So as I said, Wednesday night would be the night that we're open late. So.
I will second.
Seconded by Mr. Ferguson. Any discussion? Seemed like it made sense since everyone is here on Wednesday night already.
Yeah.
All right, any other discussion? All those in favor of resolution 13-2024, updating the hours of operation for City Hall, say aye.
Aye.
Jason, I didn't hear you. Maybe you were going to be a nay on that. You really like Thursdays.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, council to discuss the 2025 budget estimates for the general fund. Obviously, we've been doing that at length. I wanted to make sure that I talked about the large, hopefully single-year cost for annexation, which I did. I talked about the payroll increases in there. I think that was it, right? Yeah, okay. Any other discussion on the general fund? What we'll do is hopefully at the next meeting, we'll be able to have the end of November numbers inserted into the budget software. And so we'll have even a more updated look at the budget, and then have a final budget for your review. Any other discussion?
I'm getting really hungry and shaky.
Okay.
I might have to excuse myself. I think I'm gonna have to excuse myself.
Okay.
I have, granola.
Huh?
I have granola in there.
If there's no other discussion on the general fund, then moving on to item number 5, council discuss the budget for the sewer fund. Again, I think we've kind of.
Hold on, Mike. Can we skip to resolution 15, 2024?
Sure.
6?
Yeah.
Get that done.
Council to consider resolution 15-2024, the 2025 sewer schedule of fees and charges. So in that new sewer schedule that's in there is the 6% increase. The only other change that Kristen was suggesting was on the back page of that. Right now, our collection fee, if someone gets late, is $25. That does not even come close to covering the amount of pay that she uses to file all those fees, all those things. So their ask was to double that to 50. And then the administrative charge for new accounts, again, $25 is not enough. We wanted to double that to 50. And so the new fees would include a 6% increase to base rates, and then changing the collection fees for lates to $50 and new accounts to $50.
I make a motion, we approve resolution 15-2024.
A motion by Mr. Parsons to approve resolution 15-2024, hopefully with those changes to the collection fees. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Ferguson. Any other discussion?
So this includes raises for them, because
It's not the budget, it's just the sewer billing. So it'll be the base rates for sewer. It would go from $83 a month to $87 a month. So a $4 a month increase to the sewer rates. That's what it includes.
And the 25 to collection.
And the collection fees doubling from $25 to $50.
I'm not a fan of that.
For the what, for the increase?
For the doubling of it.
From $25 to $50. The reason why we're doing that is because Kristen spends more time on.
I think she said the hope was to, if it increased a little bit more too, then that would take over the cost of the overages.
Well, if they can't pay their sewer bill, they surely can't pay double fees.
So that was the request from the billing clerk. So we had a first, we had a second. Did Mike second it?
Yep.
Okay, you're not in favor of it. Any other discussion on that? All right, I'll take a poll real quick. All those in favor of resolution 15-2024 for this 2025 sewer schedule of fees, it would have, as I said, it had a 6% increase to the base rate, as well as doubling the collection fees and the new account fee from $25 to $50. Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
What was David?
Jason, I don't think I heard you. Were you
I'm an aye.
you were an aye on the approval?
Yes.
Okay, and then we had one nay. And then before Mike ran out of here because he was hungry or whatever.
Starving.
Hey, we all get that way sometimes. All right, so the sewer rate changes. Okay, moving back to the sewer fund budget, item number 5. I don't know, again, I don't think there's any other discussion about that. Okay, so item number 7. Council consider options for the SRFRF ARPA COVID relief funds for $39,606. So the city got $180,000 a couple years ago. We got about $40,000 left. I was under the impression that we had until the end of 2026 to spend this money. We actually only have until the end of this year to spend the money. We can't even just budget it and then spend it in the new year. So we have to either, 1, hire a contractor and have them under contract, or 2, have an invoice for a purchase. And so if we don't spend this money, we lose it. We started digging into some of the different rules on what we could use it for. We found that almost anything the city does that's general services that the city provides, we can use the money for. So what we're thinking is the city truck is the big one. So obviously the city truck has been costing us quite a bit to maintain. It's to the point now where John won't even drive it outside the city anymore. He's using his personal vehicle because it's unreliable. And so so the idea is to hopefully find a truck, preferably something with a dump bed, so we could have the extra capability of that, so he doesn't have to shovel things out of the back of it anymore. And hopefully to find something that is less than the $40,000. There's a few other things that we'd like to spend part of that money on as well. The large brush hog attachment that we use on the tractor right now is pretty much falling apart. John uses that to mow the edges of the streets and things like that. And so we'd like to get another one of those. It's about $3,300 from Jennings. Another thing we've always talked about over the years is a snowplow. I'd love for the city to have a snowplow for the tractor so that we could add that service for folks here in town, so that occasionally when we do get the snow, we could actually plow the streets and people can get out of the neighborhoods. The really good one is about $5,000, and it has hydraulics and all kinds of things, and so it's a really good one. And then lastly, our building and permitting. The idea is that if we got a new truck, maybe we could use the old truck for building and permitting to drive around when they go out to do inspections and things like that. What we're going to try to do, maybe with council approval, is maybe we could surplus this one for $4,000 that we've got, the old truck, and then we could get something small to replace it for building permitting, like a golf cart or something like that. Maybe even that was electric, so that we didn't have to have that kind of maintenance on a big truck. So that's a lot of stuff to get before the end of the year. But the idea is that if the council is supportive of these measures, we'll have something for you in a couple of weeks. Maybe they'll find a truck then, and then council can say, yep, that's the one, go get it tomorrow. And so is there other direction from the council, or is this something that you're interested in?
I'm interested.
I'm interested in all of it except for the snowplow.
Oh, come on, I want the snowplow.
We don't have that much snow. And when we do have snow, we have 506 is cleared. So it's just getting to 506. And it usually is not that long. It's usually a week a year. And to me, $5,000 for a week, we can rent one for less, maybe, or we can, I don't know what else we can do. But the snowplow.
Maybe Maybe
To me,
instead of a snowplow, like a side arm, brush hog kind of side arm thing for like getting up instead of just down on the ground, getting the side of the streets instead of just the ground.
Yes, that was the next thing I was gonna say, Jason. They have the arms that should hook to our tractor that go out, and the flailing arms, and they'll mow down
Yeah.
he can mow down in the ditches, he can get the trees, he can get all of that.
We want
And-
to put it in a list of priority with the funds. Instead of saying like, we're gonna get these 4 things, do we wanna do it like, because we don't know the prices, do we wanna put it in a list of priority, like,
Well, like,
number 1 is truck for John?
So what we can do is, over the next 2 weeks, we'll figure out, hopefully find this magical truck that's out there waiting for us to find it.
and maybe you can find a truck with a dump bed and a snowplow on the front of it.
They found one 4 weeks ago and it's already sold.
There's
Yeah,
gotta be another one.
They're done.
and it was, but, okay, so what we'll do is we'll put together a list of items and have it ready in a couple weeks, and at the next council meeting, y'all can take a look at it and say, all right, we're gonna do this, 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 and this. This is with this money.
Yeah.
So, okay, so that
I think
was,
the flailing arm would get used so much more.
okay, we'll see,
It's just gonna be a toy.
What's that?
It's just gonna be a toy.
okay, well, so we can see about that. And
Well,
see
no,
about-
because he uses that, we hire that kid during the summer, or the guy during the summer to go mow those things, and he can get all that with the flailing arm.
It's true.
I know, I'm just playing.
Okay,
Showing my funds.
I'll tell you what, you're gonna see a snowplow on that list next week. Okay, any other items off the top of your head you can think of that we might want to use that funds for? I mean, if the sky's the limit, obviously the truck is going to take a big portion of it, and that really should probably be the priority. You know, if we needed to, you know, if we found something really good, you know, we could actually take money out of the sewer reserve fund to help pay for these items too, if we had to. But we'll see. We'll see what we got. Maybe we'll have a couple different options and so, okay. Okay, well, if there's no other additions, wish list items, obviously, if you think about anything in the next couple of days, shoot us an email or something and we can try to add those in. Okay, so easy stuff. Council to consider closing A Street between 6th and 5th from 3 to 8 p.m. on Saturday, December 7th for the tree lighting ceremony. The park board will also be asking for permission to use the street barricades for that, obviously, and the city garbage cans, but they're cities, so.
I make a motion, we approve the 8th Street closing.
Motion by Mr. Parsons to approve park board's request for the 8th Street closing for the bazaar and tree lighting. Do I have a second?
Yes.
Second by Ms. Goff. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Last, council to consider lodging tax agreement grant for $5,000 towards the Vader 4th of July festival. So as you remember, if you remember, I made a proposal to the county lodging tax board and they approved a $5,000 grant. In your document should be the contract for that grant. And since it's a contract, council needs to approve the mayor to execute that contract to get the free money.
It is not in your package.
Oh, it's not in the package?
I emailed you, I didn't get that contract.
Oh. Well, I can print it out for council if you'd like, but it's a pretty straightforward contract. It says that we're limited to 5,000. It says that we'll need to give regular updates to them about how we're spending it. But there's no costs to us beyond that money that we are going to get.
If there's no cost to it, I say we approve the agreement.
We have a motion by Mr. Parsons to approve the lodging tax agreement for the grant. Do you have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Goff. Any discussion? We'll be sure to get that to you so you can take a look at it. It's a lot of paperwork to get free money, but it comes with strings attached as far as paperwork. Any other discussion? All those in favor of approving the lodging tax agreement grant, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, any elected official comments?
Any more elected official comments?
It's on the agenda. Jason, you want to talk about the Little Crane given trees or anything like that? Or did I just do that?
Oh, yes, we have our sign-up sheet for the turkey, the Thanksgiving turkey, down there at the restaurant and at the bar. So if anybody wants to sign up or knows someone that needs to sign up, now's the time to do it.
Thank you. All right, if there's no other comments from elected officials,
Comments, thank you, Joe, for trying so hard to get the city money.
Yes, yes.
We
thank
do
you.
appreciate you.
Yes, we do.
good thing the citizens have a good city council, otherwise they'd have a mayor that would just be raising property taxes left and right.
But you're doing good stuff with them. That's what makes it so difficult. That's it.
Thank you. And I'm sorry. Hey, I look at the numbers and I see your red warnings, and my job is to highlight those and offer solutions. This meeting is adjourned at 8:08 p.m.